All right. Well, welcome to our board meeting for TNPS. We have so far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 board members present, and several visitors. And I'm glad of that. 9 board members present. All right. Let's get down to business as quick as we can so that we can be done by 8 o'clock. Some of you may have heard that they're starting at 7 o'clock Central Time. That is the preliminary leading up to the debate. It's not the debate. I just checked that out. So good. I'm glad you got on board, Ken. Welcome. We're just starting. I'd like to really quick introduce some of our guests tonight. The board meetings are always open to any of our members. Shelley is one of our outreach coordinators, for those of you that don't know her yet. Tim Kaltenbach is, he's one of the nominees, so. Leslie and Jesse Gunn, they are also nominees. And Ken Ree is a nominee. Okay, so I think that's it. Did I miss anyone? Okay. All right. Next up, the minutes. Did everybody have a excuse me, did everybody have a chance to take a quick look at the minutes yet? Yes. These are the minutes from our annual meeting back at the conference in June. Does anybody have any corrections or additions? Don't everybody volunteer? All right. If there's no changes or additions, do I have a motion to accept the minutes as they stand? I need a motion and a second.
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mitchell seconds. Anybody opposed? If not, raise your hand. Okay. If you approve, raise your hand. All right, the minutes are passed. Next up is the treasurer's report. Kim?
So greetings, everybody. We continue to be in rock solid financial situation. When you look at these minutes, so a little bit of background, when we switched over from QuickBooks Desktop, which was basically working off of a check register, and over to online QuickBooks, which we had to do in order to use the system with Neon Pay. The online application it's a full-blown accounting software, lots and lots of, it does taxes, it does payroll, it does depreciation, anything that you can think of related to what an accountant would do, it does. And I couldn't figure out what I was doing. And, one switch, I didn't know how to undo anything. So I've been searching for someone who could help me and just looked into finding an accountant that works with the Sam Davis Home here in Middle Tennessee. And she likes working with nonprofits. I was initially inquiring about a review, which Karen really has been encouraging me to do. But again, I can't find an accountant to do a review. I don't know. There's apparently not any money in it, or it must be. I have no idea. Nobody can tell me other than I've been told there's a shortage of accountants. But luckily, this individual accountant that I communicated with, I noticed at the bottom of her signature, it said she was a QuickBooks Pro advisor. And I contacted her through that. And she said, oh, yes, of course, I can help you with that. It's $100 an hour. and will begin immediately. So she is just a bright, brilliant, wonderful person who's really helped me a tremendous amount and took on the task of learning the Neon system and Neon Pay without compensating herself. She said, I like learning. I'm going to learn, and I'm not going to charge you a penny for any of this. And you can call me. I won't charge you for that. But she's $100 an hour. So we spent 3 hours together at her house. She actually lives just 3 blocks away from me. Isn't that crazy? And so you're going to see, so with that said, you're going to see something that looks a little funny with the annual meeting. So trying to get things restructured. She said that we were when she went through and went all the way through all the books, we came over with the $480 and some change to the good in the black. And we tried to go through and figure out where that was. And we found a little bit of the money, but not all of it. So in going through this, some of the registration cost and the meals, this is not correct, obviously. The meals were, I don't know, maybe 1,200. Sue and Mitchell, you guys would remember that. So that's why this looks so funny. It will get corrected. It's just we're in, it's a work in progress. And we ended up, though, about $1,500 ahead. The point of the annual meeting is not to make money, but there's $1,500 that's available for the meeting next year, which will be wonderful to put towards that. And if anyone has any questions about anything, we no longer need the new membership category, which is the $10, because our system actually just takes care of that. So that will be removed. The Limestone Cedar Glade booklet I donated, I don't even know how many copies to NEPC, and they were sold at $10 each. So there's $430 that came in through that. And so we were looking at a total revenue since January of the amount that you see, a little bit 26.5. And just kind of looking through quickly here, there's no costs or expenses that have gone up. We have a little bit of a bump in the cost for Neon One, but we figured that we would be experiencing that. Let's see, anything else? We're holding on. Actually, this is just really wonderful. We've earned nearly $500 in interest off of our CDs, where we put our book money and the just kind of our general savings account money. So we move those into accounts, which is wonderful. Our checking as of the end of July is at 14.5. And so the idea is that we keep it at 10,000, so that 4,000 I need to move somewhere. And there was one little hiccup that came up. So Karen and I are sort of sitting on our hands without being able to digitally pay for things. So she and I both got debit cards. And I got a thing that came up on my phone on Saturday that, did you make this charge at Amazon? So here we go, right? Y'all can see this story. The card that I had was canceled immediately. It was like a $68 charge or something like that. But in checking the account, there were more charges that were made. So I spent a little time at the bank this afternoon. Karen and I both have our cards are canceled. I'm not willing to get more debit cards. I feel like this must be an inside job or something, because Karen has never used her card. And I've only used my card 3 times. And once was at Sam's for Zoom. And then I have it on file to pay for our Dropbox. So it's concerning to me that this has been hacked. And the banker, of course, couldn't offer any explanation. But do you guys have any questions? So that's sort of where we're at. We're getting that resolved, and I'm feeling good about QuickBooks Online.
Yeah, something that I'd like to say about the debit cards, a lot of banks offer the opportunity to block any internet charge made on the cards, and the only charges would be point of sale charges that would be allowed. And that's a consideration that maybe you might want to put on one of the credit card, or the credit card.
That would be great.
The
I
problem
appreciate
with
that.
that
I'll look
is,
into that.
yeah, but the problem with that is that a lot of what we use it, I would use it
Yeah,
for.
Zoom.
Well, you can turn it on and off. You know, you can keep it off. And then when you're ready to make an online charge, first go in and turn it on, make the charge, and then turn it off again for anything online. It's still okay for point of sale.
That's fantastic.
Our debit card at the bank got compromised, and I found this feature, and that's what we use. We don't use our card, our bank debit card anymore for any online purchases. They're all point of sale.
Okay. That's good information. Thank
for
you.
that.
We can get together and I'll show you how, I do
That'd be
mine,
great.
and perhaps the bank, that which bank are you going through?
Regions.
Regions.
Ah, perfect. Yeah, we'll have no trouble.
That's great.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Kim? All right, then let's move on to old business. Education outreach updates. There's not a lot to share there. Things have certainly slowed down. I don't have any in my area, in the Nashville area. Anne, do you have anything going on in your area?
We don't have any tabling events coming up. The only thing that would possibly be an option would be the Botanic Gardens plant sale. But I don't know how realistic it is. I just don't think it's a great opportunity because everybody's going to just be focused on shopping and getting their plants, and I expect us to be really, really busy. But
that's the way it is sometimes.
Yeah, I will look for an opportunity to at least have some literature available.
Okay. Shelley, do you have anything going?
Well, the only thing I have going on is the grant that I'm trying to get for Collier.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want it in this segment or like.
But no, let's follow up with that in a little bit.
Okay.
Mitchell, do you have anything? You have a couple of things going, don't you?
Yes. Our main outreach activity this summer was a new event entitled Birds, Bees, Bucks, and Trees. It was held in Crossville, Tennessee on June the 29th. It was sponsored by the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Office, TWRA, and others. There were numerous speakers, vendors, and exhibitors on hand, of which we were one. And the estimated attendance for this first meeting was over 800 visitors, which was very
Wonderful.
impressive. Our TNPS table had been strategically placed near the entrance, so we had the opportunity to talk to many of them. We did have good sales of TNPS memberships and books, and I certainly hope TNPS is invited to participate in this event in the future. It turned out to be very successful.
Good.
Our next outreach event for Chattanooga is the Master Gardeners of Hamilton County Fall Festival. We have attended this in the past. It is very good. It's very well attended, and that comes up on September the 28th.
Okay.
Questions?
All right. And we have had a recent event in my area. When I got home from our conference, a couple of days later, I received an email asking if we could provide someone to lead a field trip. And to lead a hike, actually. So what I did was look around. I, at that point, was laid up. I couldn't hike. I was lucky to hike from the kitchen to the bathroom at that point. My knee was messed up. So, on a hunch after coming from the conference where I had met Leslie and Jesse, I asked Leslie, because she lives over in College Grove, which is where the event was taking place. Said, would you feel like how would you like to lead a nature walk? It's connected with this live golf tournament that they're having over there. Via some students. I don't know what ages yet, but here's the lady to contact. And thankfully, Leslie said yes. So Leslie worked with them on it, did a fine job. As it turned out, there wasn't really a location to take a hike, so she did a show and tell with plants from her garden. It went over really well, apparently. And there was supposed to be an article in this month's in this upcoming newsletter, but I just noticed today it's missing. So I'm going to share a little from what happened. Live Golf thanked us, TNPS, for supplying someone to do this. And they asked if they could make a donation. And of course we said yes. We sent them all the information they needed, because it's a donation. They needed all kinds of, they're a big organization and they wanted to give us things on the up and up. And so we gave them all our numbers so that they could cut a check and they could. We haven't received the check yet, but if it does arrive, and I'm hoping it will, I'm expecting it will, it's a $10,000 check.
Mm.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
now that is not for publication. Live Golf does not want people to know how much their contribution is. So this is not to be passed along, and probably shouldn't even go into the minutes. The amount anyway. But it is a graciously made large contribution that we're looking forward to receiving in the mail. So we're keeping an eye out for it. But this is why the one question that we'll deal with later, if we have time later in the meeting. Okay? So sometimes really good things happen.
Mm.
And tip of the hat to Leslie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for saying yes. And thank you for taking the time to do this. Much, much appreciated. And now Leslie and Jesse have agreed to help me with education outreach for the Nashville region. And I'm looking forward to finding something happening that we can work on. We do have one event coming up that's brand new, that just surprised me. There's going to be a Pawpaw Festival at Chapel Hill. That's going to be on the 19th, I think. I'm going to post it on our calendar tomorrow. There'll be Pawpaw ice cream available. Now, it's not going to be a table event, but they invited us to come, and I said, if I can bring some pamphlets, bring our brochures along. They said, sure. I said, okay, I'll be there. So keep your eyes and ears open. You never know when good things are to pop into your lap. All right. Any questions about education outreach? All right. Next up is Bart with field trips. How are we doing?
Am I
There you
on?
go. Yes, you're on.
This has been a disaster tonight. I can't even get myself in here good. We've started the initial working out on the list for next year. I've already got several field trip ideas. All the people that signed up for The committee at the annual meeting have been very helpful about coming up with ideas. And so I think we're going to have a really good schedule. Really won't be working on that until probably October-ish, until we, to really start trying to put it together. But right now we've already got a few trips, so that's always good. And I'm sure we're going to have a nice schedule for next year.
Great. Any questions for Bart? Excuse me,
Always
allergies.
looking for volunteers and trip suggestions, so don't be shy.
Next up, native plant seminar speakers. That's going along well. We still have 3 more scheduled for this year. Next week is Sarah Wittenberg with pollinators in the garden. October is Elizabeth Hermson. She's going to be talking about fossil plants of Tennessee. And then November 19th is going to be a good slideshow of wildflowers of the Appalachian by Adam Bigelow. So that's moving along nicely. I have a number of people that we couldn't work in this year, so I already have a list of people to start off with next year. I just have to get them scheduled. So that's moving along very nicely. This is our 4th year, can you believe, of doing this? So it's been a good run. Next up is grants for native plants. I wanted to give you all a heads up on where we stand. For those of you that aren't directly involved in it, what we have done is we took applications from schools that wanted to receive a grant for native plants that they could plant in their schoolyards or nearby. We had 9 applications. 3 were rejected because they weren't, they didn't meet the standards we were looking for. They were, one wasn't in, the garden was not going to be accessible by anybody but the family. And I don't feel we should be putting out money for family native plants in their yards. That's not the purpose of the grants for native plants. It's for schools presenting with an educational aspect. If there's no educational aspect, and 2 of them weren't well organized, they didn't know who was going to be teaching. They didn't know how they were going to use it in the classroom. They were just incomplete applications. And they were given some time to complete them, and they never came back complete. So we had wound up with 6 good options. We immediately the committee set about finding mentors, because one thing that sets us apart from all of the other grants that I'm aware of, all other grants similar to this, is that we're presenting them with mentors. We're finding someone who can guide them, can help shape their garden, can be a resource. And if they don't have the answers to the questions, they have all of TNPS to turn to say, I need help. What do I do with? How do we deal with this? So we found someone for each of the 6 schools. Bart has kindly agreed to do Decaturville Elementary, and I appreciate that. We don't have any members in Decaturville or any in the area surrounding it. So I knew his family was from there. So Bart kindly agreed to do it, even though he doesn't live in Decaturville permanently now or anywhere near there, Parsons. And we couldn't hear your comment because you were muted, Bart. You're still muted.
I know
That's
that
okay.
having to do this on my phone is just really sucks. There are actually a couple of members in Decatur County. They're in the northern part of the county. I don't know them. But yeah, it would be easier for me to just do it.
Okay.
And it's worked out great. I've enjoyed it.
It has. It has. And so many people helped in finding mentors. We had to do a bit of a search in some areas, but they all seem to be doing okay. We set it up so that the mentors will worked with the school teachers to come up with an action plan. In other words, they had specific areas they needed to let us know about. Where was the garden going to be planted? Where would you get tools for it to do the planting? Where are you getting the plants from? How are you going to maintain the garden once it's put in place? Who's going to take care of it when the school's all out of session? Who's going to take care of it, during vacation times? And the mentors were there to help hold their nose to the grindstone and give answers and send them to us. So everybody has an actual action plan that is doable, that should work. So we sent all the schools got packages that contain 2 books, our Wildflowers of Tennessee book and our Winter Twig book. Were sent to all of the schools so they would have good, solid references and could use them for teaching. I thought the Twig book would work well, especially in the winter months when they might want to try to identify a few trees when they don't have leaves to look at, depending on the age group. We do have 2 of the schools are elementary, 2 are middle school classes, and 2 are high school classes. And they are spread all over the state except for the far eastern portion. And I think Ken's going to help work on that next year so we can get
Yes.
some applicants. Thank you. And we don't have anyone from Nashville. The closest we have is Nolansville. So I guess we'll have to work on that. So they all received that. And last week we sent out the $500 checks along with a certificate that lets them know that they can frame. And I wanted to show you an example of the certificate. Okay, share screen. Let's see if it can come up with it pretty quick here. Not there.
Karen, that's the minutes.
I know.
Oh.
It came up and wasn't what I wanted, and I didn't click it out until now it stopped my screen sharing. Share screen. Let me try this again. Okay. I'm going to give up. Anyway. I thought I had it all lined up and it didn't work. All right. But on the screen, on the certificate, there is a note on some of the certificates that indicate that the grant was being offered in memory of, let's see if I can get it right, Colonel Chaplain Russ Reagan of Chattanooga, who lived in Chattanooga and was a great lover of native plants. That went on the school that's in Chattanooga. There were 3 other schools that had received partial line of that. Nolensville High, St. Rose of Lima, and West High School were also included. The reason I did that was because I've been talking with a lady called Margaret Fletcher. Her husband, Russ Reagan, died last year, and Kim went crazy trying to keep up with the donations that came in memory of Russ Reagan, to the tune of close to what, $2,000, wasn't it? And so afterwards, his wife, Margaret Fletcher, contacted us and asked if there was something that she could do in memory of her husband connected with the Native Plant Society. And at that point, we were coming up with ideas about the grants for native plants. And I said, would you like to fund one of the schools or more if you'd like? And she said, yes, I would. I was thinking that she was thinking of something in the tune of $2,000. Well, she did. She turned around and sent us a check for $2,000. So that covers 4 of the $500 grants. Not only that, but here's part of an email from her. Margaret says, my intention is to provide $2,000 annually. I have it marked on my calendar to submit a donation to you at the beginning of April every year. I would like to support 4 schools this year. I'll do it again next year, and so on and so on. I realize it can be hard to plan when you're relying on donations, but I feel entirely comfortable with this promise to your organization in memory of my husband. And regarding the schools, she comments, would you believe that my 88-year-old mother went to Normal Park, Normal Park Museum School, Museum Magnet School. It's a huge name. Her mother attended the school she's sponsoring when she was a little girl. And on top of that, her brother lives 2 blocks away from the school and was part of the volunteer team that built a part of the playground there. So I'm blown away that we've made a wonderful connection with a lady who's going to supply us with $2,000 every year for grants for native plants in her husband's name. So we've got a lot of good things happening.
Amazing.
It is amazing, absolutely amazing, and I'm thrilled that she would consider doing this and continue to do it. So, all right. See, is there anything else? Okay, so we'll continue to look for mentors next year. When the time comes, we'll be looking for mentors, but hopefully we'll be able to have an easier time of it next year, since people now know what it's all about. Okay. Nominations. Bart, you're up with the next.
Okay. So this year was probably one of the most complicated and hardest years of ever getting nominations because we had so many open positions. But through some wrangling and finagling and begging and all that kind of good stuff, we finally have come up with pretty much an entire slate. We have one position still open that we're still working on. But right now I can report that we have nominees for president would be Mitchell Kemp. Vice president is Tim Kaltenbach. Secretary Sue Bible. The assistant secretary position is still open. I do have somebody I'm going to ask, but if that doesn't work out, I may be sending out an email for suggestions of some people to contact. Treasurer Kim is the only person remaining off of the officers. And the assistant treasurer is going to be Jesse Gunn. Directors who will be on the ballot this year are Mary Priestley, Larry Pounds, and Ken Ray. And then the people who will be on the ballot for next year or will be up for renewal next year would be myself, Alan Trentley, who's taking Sue's place, and Ann Ballantyne. So that is our slate of nominees as of right now.
Wonderful job. Much, much, much appreciated. So, does anybody have any suggestions for assistant secretary?
So I want to chime in. Leslie and Jesse are coming, I think, is it so Leslie and Jesse, just correct me on that they're coming in as a package. And so I think working you guys, yeah, they're coming in as a package. So Leslie and Jesse are actually a double assistance to the treasurer, which is much needed and really a million thanks. Before I had a nervous breakdown over everything. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, they're going to tag team on both positions is the way I understood it. But I just put Jesse for the assistant treasurer and then Leslie will be for the education outreach. But that's just semantics. They're going to be a team for both of them.
So, very exciting time. Welcome on. Be glad to have you on board. What happens next is once we have a full slate, our bylaws say that Article 7, Section 2B, in addition to nominations by the nominating committee, any eligible member may also be nominated from the general membership if accompanied by written consent of the nominee. Such nominations must be received by the nominating committee no later than 3 weeks after the publication of the third quarter newsletter, which would be since the newsletter is going out today and tomorrow, that will give us a date of October 1st this year. I am including the list that Mark just read off will be in the email version of the newsletter, but it did not make it to the written version. But the email version is going out to everybody with an email, as well as this copy of the from our bylaws. So if no nominating petitions are received for any office or board, those nominated shall be declared elected with no further election procedures required. So some of you will know fairly soon. I mean, I don't expect that there'll be any second nomination for any position. That has not been a typical thing to occur in TNPS. It's happened once since I've been a member. Excuse me. So, yeah, we'll need Bart. We'll need that the name of someone for the assistant secretary as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm going to email Alice Thornton tonight and ask her if she will be willing to take the job. If not, that's when I said I'll have to scramble and try to get somebody. But I'm sure we could put out even a general email to the membership and just see if anybody would be interested. It's always worked. It's amazing to me. We don't seem to take advantage of our membership as much as we probably could, but just asking in general for people. There's always somebody willing to do something.
I'll hold off on the sending out the email version of the newsletter until about noon tomorrow then. And if I haven't,
if she responds back, I mean, I'll send that out as soon as we get off, but Yeah. She may not
And
respond before
what I
then.
can always say is that this position is open. If anyone's interested, please contact me
Yeah,
or us or you.
yeah, definitely. That would work. And if she does respond, we'll have that response.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. All right. Next up is conference 2025 decisions.
Mm-hmm.
We've been a little remiss with so many other things going on.
Well, we have and we haven't. I mean, I think the last that we addressed this, we had pretty much decided between either Pickwick or Paris Landing. I did look at both of those parks. There wasn't a lot of difference in the cost. I think, Paris Landing was probably $50 more expensive for the rentals. So, I mean, the problem is being able to come up with a decent field trip from the conference. I'll have to talk with some people. Right now, I would lean more toward Pickwick in just the fact that I know that there are some areas relatively close by that would make good field trips. And we'd have to figure out what time of year also. But I'm thinking if we do Pickwick, I would think we could go to Big Hill Pond. We just had our field trip there Saturday. We made a really important, exciting discovery. And if we wanted to see that species, which was Melanthium virginicum, if we wanted to see that, it would probably be toward the end of June. I know that that's kind of a bad time because of vacations and stuff. But we had a June meeting this past year, so it seemed to work fine.
It did. We had good attendance. There were a few of us that were meeting about something else, and we got off on a tangent. And Ann and I, and I think it was Kim, we got to talking about Memphis, and Ann knows all kinds of places down there, all kinds of botanical places throughout Memphis area. And I looked on a map, and Ducks Unlimited has a big refuge right across the river from there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
So,
Memphis, the problem is not going to be finding places to go here to look at things. The thing about Memphis is the only facilities that I know that would work would be hotels.
and we've used them before. We did that down in Chattanooga with no problem.
Yeah. I mean, that would be an option.
I was thinking that the Botanic Garden would probably be amenable to hosting us. And it is convenient to a number of hotels.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to put the Botanic Garden out there.
That's okay. We promote all kinds of areas of the state, and that's what we do.
Something I was thinking is we've got good meeting facilities. There's nearby lodging. We can easily have catered meals in the facilities, and there are some cool field trips that we could take in the general vicinity.
Yeah.
How about you talk with Bart and consider it, and we'll put out some feelers or some information later on. By our next newsletter will be December, so maybe we can have something kind of rough plan formulated by then.
Yeah, I would definitely like to have something kind of finalized before the end of the year as far as where we're going to go and what time of the year.
Mm-hmm. That makes it easier for folks to plan to attend when they have time ahead. They have
Henry Horton was another one we talked about earlier. I think there'd be some good places to hike there. I think they have accommodations there as well. Just something to consider, maybe not this time, but in the future.
Henry
Yeah.
Horton, is that Henry Horton you're talking about?
Yes, yeah, it's kind of
Okay.
southern middle Tennessee.
Yeah, and I think there's I think there are a number of good options going to be opening up there. They have a new, as Sue pointed out, there's a new park ranger in charge now, and we need to let him get things going. But I think maybe the following year or 2026, that would be might be a really good option because it's close to a lot of things, close enough to a lot of things that we could do some really nice field trips surrounding the area. There's the Duck River right there that runs through it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that would lend itself to maybe a canoe trip
Kayak.
or small boat trip or kayak trip. We could come up with all kinds of possibilities, I suspect. I've held off going over there because my knee was bothering me so much, but I'm in a good place now. I'm moving pretty good. So within the next few weeks, I'm hoping to get over there to Henry Horton. They have a restaurant and they have a hotel right there. They also have a golf course. They have camping, both cabins. I think they have everything, cabins and RVs and possibly tents. So yeah, it should be nice.
I know like Cedars, they book 3 years out. So if it's even a possibility, we may want to go ahead and consider into 2 years for 2025, just grabbing a date and reserving. I don't know.
Yeah, I
if
agree. I
we can
think
do
that's a good idea. It
Yeah,
makes it
3 years.
easier.
Okay.
So we can just go ahead and basically pencil that in and we can just start working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just go ahead and make the commitment to do that in 2026.
Okay. Sounds good.
And we'll work on either Memphis or Pickwick.
Okay. And yes,
Or
Sue, if you'll
We could
Sue
kind
and
of,
I can meet up to take a look at Henry Horton together. And
I'm
Ann?
sorry, I'm gonna forget this because I didn't think of it before. We could sort of also be in between at Pinecrest.
Yeah, Pinecrest.
It's
The only thing about
small.
Pinecrest is that it really does not have the accommodations for sleeping over.
It is small,
Well, it's bunk rooms, and
but it doesn't even have to be. I was just thinking it would be cool if we could not necessarily be in Memphis also, but have an opportunity to explore a lot of Southwest Memphis because you can travel pretty fast between different areas
right.
down here. So anyway, sorry, sort of.
Keep
No
thinking.
problem.
Yeah.
All right. Uh,
Yeah.
anything else on conferences?
I
Well,
can
that's
tell
it
you
for right now.
I can tell you from my experience this past year, working with a full service park brings a lot of advantages.
Yeah.
And so not only do you have facilities, some of these places have restaurants that will cater for an event like ours. The rangers are a big help. They have established trails that are usually maintained pretty well. So a full service park with a willing management team can make a lot of difference in pulling something like this together. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that we probably will have over 100 people next time.
With your help.
Yeah, so Karen and I really poo-pooed Mitchell on this one. No, Mitchell, 30 people. There'll be 30 people.
Yeah.
And he just showed us. It was a wonderful meeting, just beautifully executed. Great speakers, just all around. It just was a wonderful, incredible weekend. So thank you so much, you guys.
Great team to work with, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any additional old business that anybody can think of? All right. If there's no more old business, let's move on to new business. All right, next up is a new UT contract for vascular plants and the Tennessee Kentucky Plant Atlas. And this came from something that was sent to many of the board members by Joey Shaw. And we had a general consensus at that point that we agreed to a change. Maybe I should step back, and a lot of folks don't know the background on this. I don't know that I really know the background. I know some of it, but not all. Years ago, we put some money out. I don't know how much, to help with the vascular plants of Tennessee. That's our big, thick, white book. We put some money out for that to help get that going. And it was Dr. Chester and, well, I know it was Joey Shaw and a whole bunch of people. What was it? Brad Ruffel, Ashley Morris, and Dwayne Estes. They were all together in on that. And they were also together on working with the Plant Atlas, the online Plant Atlas. Well, Joey has asked if we can't make a change. I don't know for certain that we had a contract in the past. I don't have all the records. We're doing better with our record keeping, but I don't know whether or not we had a contract originally. I believe we may have had one for the Atlas, the online Atlas, but I don't know about the UT Press, the actual book, the vascular plant book. So I approached Joey after y'all gave me some feedback, and I told him the general consensus is that we should agree to this change, but we do have a few questions and concerns. And the questions were, how does this affect our contract? And is there a mechanism to modify it? And would we still be able to order the vascular plant books at a 50% discount? We're dealing with Joey Shaw because everybody else but Dr. Chester has kind of bailed on the projects. Joey and Dr. Chester have worked diligently on the vascular plant book and Joey has tied it directly with the Atlas so that the nomenclature is the same in both places. He's worked diligently on that, and he's looking towards October, November for getting it sent to the press, for getting it to a publisher to print the book again. So by midsummer next year, we will have a new book, a new version of the book. So they're working on that. Joey wrote a little bit about this, and let me just read it word for word for you. He says, the strained history of covering annual fees for the Tennessee Kentucky Plant Atlas. That's the online version. And how Brad Ruffel, Ashley Morris, and Dwayne Estes took other opportunities and left fundraising to cover the annual Atlas licensing fees to Joey. He said, last year, Dwayne's Southern Grasslands Institute covered the licensing fees for 2023, 2024, and 2025. So that answers one of your questions, Kim, I think. So they're covered for 2025. Joey's vision and request is to move future book proceeds into the UTC Foundation account, which is already established, that already supports both the Atlas and the Spring Wildflower Pilgrimage. It was this already established account into which TNPS and Kentucky NPS donated in the past that allowed Joey to cover the licensing fees. Viewing second edition proceeds as one piece of fundraising into one account to support the plant atlas, the guide, I think he means the vascular plant guide, the pilgrimage, and UTC botany student training would give him significantly greater ability to cover future atlas licensing fees and or hire student workers to help work on the atlas, the guide, and the pilgrimage. So he's agreed that we should continue to be able to purchase the books. He says, Joey says, I will work with UT Press on the new contract and allow all remaining book sales of the first edition to continue to go to TNPS. There aren't that many books left. There really aren't. I think Dennis has one. And I think that's it. The good news is that UT Press has verbally agreed to honor the TNPS discount going forward, our 50% discount. So what this generally means is that if we, I don't know, I'm not sure what we're giving up here even. We're giving up royalties. That's what it is. We won't be receiving royalties. I mean, if Joey's plan is we won't receive the royalties anymore from the book, they will go instead into this fund that will help with the licensing fees for the Atlas. We will still receive a 50% discount in purchasing the books for resale for us. So I have not heard back since August on this. I'm waiting for him to get back to me with some kind of a contract or addendum or something. I will try and rattle his cage later this week and see, is this agreeable with the board? That we forgo our royalties with the second edition of the book, that we continue to be able to purchase the book for 50% discount. But we all should also be off the hook then for any licensing fees for the Atlas.
As long as Joey doesn't come back to us and hit us up in the future, I would say that we come out of this probably better off. I don't know what royalties were, but we were paying I think something like $2,500 a year for the licensing fees.
Yeah, Kim's nodding yes.
And I don't know how much the royalties were. I mean, obviously they were lower because the floras are older, but I as long as he doesn't change his mind and come back and ask us again. I think Dennis kind of alluded to that. It seems like this should work.
Okay. Is everybody okay with that?
Karen, we contributed like $8,000
Right.
to the
Seed money.
fifth, I think it was the fifth volume or fifth printing of the it was the checklist, the fifth checklist And that was that was a requirement kind of leading up to the Flora being published. When the Flora got ready to be published, UT came back and said, this book, instead of it being $90 retail, if you make a contribution of $5,000, we can lower it to $50, and that's what we did. So TNPS wound up contributing $8,000 to the checklist, which is a predecessor to the book. And then when the book got published, we contributed $5,000. And because of all that, that's why we get a 50% discount. It's not anything to do with Joey, but
Right.
but it has to do with our contributions to both of those projects in the past.
Mhm.
So we should, I mean, that would be just something that UT should go ahead and honor because of what we gave UT $5,000.
Mhm.
Same way with the Winter Twig book. That was University of Kentucky did that they were the producer on that, the publisher on that, and we gave them $5,000, and we get a 50% discount on that book as well. So that's kind of the history on all of that.
Thank you. That helps a lot, Dennis. I appreciate it. Did we ever have a contract? Dennis, do you remember if we ever had an actual contract? Well,
I'm not sure. The contract may have been between the committee, the Flora committee. There were 12 of us, and there may have been a contract between the Flora committee and UT Press, but I don't think there was any contract with TNPS. That's what I
Okay.
remember.
You know, and another thought is I think it's good, Dennis, that we articulate, don't come back for more money, but we don't have any guarantees at this point. I think we're just basically, you know, in good faith. It's you know, it's a great publication, and you know, Dwayne is, you know, going bells and whistles everywhere, so he may have another little pot of money to continue the support of the book. And I think there was a hiccup with the Atlas that hopefully that's been resolved. And I mean, my thoughts are that we should let them have the royalties and then just be more self-sustaining.
mhm.
I agree.
Yeah, if they could be more independent, I think that would be helpful. And Joey certainly has put work into this big time. And he's coordinated the Flora book along with the Atlas so that they match up at this point, with the nomenclature in particular. So that could be a really important resource for some people. It's not a book for everyone, but it should be a worthwhile book for some people, those who want to specialize. Okay. So are we kind of in agreement then, as we have been all along?
Yeah.
I think what I will try to do is maybe at least get some kind of written memorandum, even if I have to put it together. Some memorandum, just something in writing. It is our understanding that this is what's going to happen and this is what we're going to do. And something to that effect. Would that make sense?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a much better long-term arrangement because people come and go. The contract tells whoever comes in the future what the arrangement was. So
If they can find the contract.
if we can't get in a contract, then a memorandum of agreement that both parties sign would certainly help.
Yes, it would. Well, I'll see if we can't come up with something that's agreeable to Joey and you know, he's a hard worker. He's done a lot. And it would be nice to keep encouraging him to keep going. And if he can be more self-sustaining, I think that would be helpful to all of us.
Well, and the contract will be in the Dropbox for perpetuity, as long as we
All contracts
electronically can figure out how to pay for Dropbox.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So, all right. All right. Any other questions or comments on this? The vascular plant book and the Atlas changes? If not, we'll go on to insurance options. I've been busy with the grants and table events before that, and can't say is that we've done a lot. I have put out requests for estimates from a lot of different places, and I've heard back from 2 who have asked me further questions. So there's a possibility. Bart, Larry, Dennis, Alan, do you have any old copies of the liability form that we used to use for hikes?
I could wrangle up the old form. I'll have to look back in some of my old documents that are stored away on the computer and see if I can find it. Yeah, it was just basically a general agreement that, you know, people weren't going to hold us liable and responsible for any accidents that happened on the trip. It's, not legal, obviously, but I mean, it gives you maybe a basis of wording for something else.
It would be a starting point. There are others available online. I can say we're now actively working on it now that the grants are out of my hair for the time being. So yeah, I would.
Yeah, let me look, and I will send it to everybody, and we can look at it. But I would imagine your things that are online or from some other organizations who have worked this out better than we have would probably be better. I mean, mine was just very generic.
Sure. Actually, there's been some comments from one of the people I was dealing with. There are waivers available online. They're generic ones that can be specific for Tennessee. I have found those. What I have found,
Sue said she can come up with the form.
Yeah, I actually have one right here that I downloaded from online. But one of the people I talked with, a leader of another organization, said that they had run afoul of their insurance company because their liability form wasn't adequate. It doesn't always cover volunteers. I would like to see something that holds that exempts the volunteers leading the hikes from being suable.
Yeah.
or being liable. And one of the ones that has gotten back to me is suggested that we should probably have coverage for, board members and executive committee members.
Mm-hmm.
We should have an insurance that covers that. And then we need something else that will cover our volunteers to protect them. So it's not as simple a setup as I thought it might be. which is why I'm seeking some help. Tim, for those of you that don't know Tim yet, he's a retired lawyer.
Ah, wonderful.
So I'm
Well, I
gonna
don't
be-
know how wonderful it's going to be, but
it's wonderful in that I can have a sounding board that we don't have to pay for.
yeah, and I when you mentioned it to me, Karen, I had said that I would try to research all these related questions. The first thing that did pop into my mind was board and officer liability.
Indemnity.
Yeah, indemnity. And I think it's my first impression is that there's a low uh, level of jeopardy because we don't have employees. But I am interested in exploring maybe cases and examples of potential injuries on such as the one that could occur on the types of things we do with the hikes, and
Right.
that's what I'm concerned about. So whether that liability exists or not, and to what extent, and I'll hope to be able to kind of put together some concepts for that.
I was hoping maybe Sue and you and I would be able to work together
Sure.
on this. We're coming at it from
Yeah.
different angles. And I think over the next few weeks, we should be able to come up with some kind of a solution for us.
Mhm.
Right now, we do have a healthy bank account, and we don't want to wind up giving that away to someone for making a foolish decision. That was their decision, not ours.
Mhm.
So, yeah, if the three of us can work together, I think we'll have a good little team. And we're actually not far from each other physically, so we could actually meet somewhere at an insurance office if we can narrow down the different carriers to one that we can work with. And then maybe all three of us we can work a Zoom together. We can actually to choose one of these different carriers, and then once we get things going with them, maybe all three of us can even go to one of the.
Or as the waivers on hikes, I know Georgia Botanical Society has always had a waiver to be signed by everybody who attends the hikes. I think that's been just a standard thing every hike they do. And I don't have a copy of it, but I'm sure I can get a copy, or some of us can. The other one is University of the South, Swanee. If you do a hike in Shake Rag Hollow, they have a waiver that you need to sign. You're not really supposed to go in there without signing that waiver. I do have a copy of that I could pass on to somebody. I think I do. I'd have to dig it out of my computer somewhere, but I think I do. Because I've had to have it. I've had to have a copy of it for the attendees to sign when I've led hikes in there before.
Okay. And having several examples, I think, might be helpful. Maybe we can choose the best from all of them. And if they meet the standards for whatever carrier we come up with, if they accept it as coverage, as being good enough for the insurance coverage, then yes. But I think we'll be able to come up with something in the next few weeks. All right. All right.
Thank you, Tim.
Yes.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you on that.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll set up a Zoom for the three of us in a few days. Okay.
Good.
Might not be tomorrow, but within a few days. Okay. Any other questions on insurance? Okay. I do want to see us protected, both TNPS primarily, plus all the officers and directors and all the field trip leaders. I think everybody volunteers so many hours as it is. We need to be protected, and I think that's only fair. So I will work on that, and we will work on that. Next up is transitions of duties and projects to new officers, directors. Well, I'm working on the transition for El Presidente down here, Mitchell. Since Mitchell's taking over, I'm going to meet with Tim and Mitchell. I figured I may as well share with both of you at the same time and answer whatever questions and help get you moving forward. Kim, I know you'll want to get together with Leslie and Jesse and work with them. Sue, you can get together with Bettina. And if any of you want to set up a Zoom call to meet, just shoot me a quick little email and say, I need a Zoom call for whatever, and I'll just set it up. It's quick, it's easy. I just have to log in and do it. And I need to find ways to pass this along or share this job with others too. So over the next few weeks, months, I will be working at transitioning the things that I do to other people. Some I will carry over into the new year and work on them, get them started, and then pass them along to somebody else. So,
Yes, so our Zoom is set up for the board to be able to initiate and do your own Zoom call. So that's part of the package that we're paying for. So each of us, Karen doesn't have to set it up. I mean, she needs to show everybody, but we have accounts that every person is able to do, just Zoom without going through Karen or the president. So it's actually wonderful.
Some kids.
Okay. And then I have a few things. We're moving along very nicely. So there's a couple of things here I thought I might run by folks. Things that aren't listed under new business, but will come under there. We have Shelley you're still here? Good. Shelley is asking for a grant to cover Collier Preserve in Knoxville. Would you want to tell us a little bit about Collier Preserve?
Sure. Collier is a real small county park. It's in Powell, which is North Knoxville, and it's adjacent to a little library, the Powell Library. So it has a little walking trail and a little storybook trail. So kids come along there very often and they read little stories and walk along the trail. It was given to the county by Bob Collier, who saw all the development happening in North Knoxville and wanted to. So he put it in a conservancy and gave it to Legacy Parks, which it handles most of the parks around the Knox County. And so he also stipulated that he wanted all native plants in the park. And so the Knox County Master Gardeners has sort of been in charge of maintaining and adding to the flora. There's a birding group that is active there also. So it's a great little park. It's small. We've been working on it for a while. I'm on a committee that is over that park. And we have developed several little areas. And right now we're working on this area called the Council Ring, which is a big circular area that has tree stumps where you can have a class or you can meet. It's a sweet little gym. And so we've been adding native plants to the park and gotten grants from other places. And I had told the group that Tennessee Native Plant Society might be interested in also contributing to developing the park and adding natives to it. So this little, I sent something to Karen, and she wasn't able to open it, but it's got a diagram, it's got pictures of the stump area. And so the group has come up with, they wanted to add some heuchera and carex and fothergilla and hydrangea and solidago and beautyberry around this little area. And they came up with an estimated price of about $630. So I've got it listed, and if that PDF will open for Karen, she'll be able to see it all. If that won't open, I'll try something else. I'm having some tech problems with my laptop, so I did try to do it by phone. But
it does. If I can get it to open, I will pass it along to everybody else.
yeah, I redid it.
Okay.
It's a PDF now. Hopefully it might, but I did do screenshots too. I can always send you screenshots.
Okay.
I apologize for the low tech, that I find myself in right now, but it's a real gem. It's the only park I know of in the area that is going all native. We have weed wrangles and pulling out privet and all that kinds of things, and it's one of the few places that still has river cane. Because Beaver Creek runs through it. There's a creek that runs through the whole city, and it runs through this park. And we have a stand of river cane, which is one of the few areas that's left with the river cane. But we've added a lot of different things to it. It's really looking nice.
Sue, what's the name of the park again, and how many acres?
It's 12 acres. It's Collier Preserve Park, named after Bob Collier, who gave the land. It's on Emory Road. I've got an address for you if you want to look it up. And there's a website, legacyparks.org is the website. So any contributions to help with the plantings would go to Legacy Parks. They handle our finances. But the address is 316 Emory Road, Knoxville. And Legacy Parks address, do you want that too?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. All right. But that's most of that in a nutshell. But I just love this little park, and it's just a real gem. The UT actually did a water study because Beaver Creek tends to flood a little bit, and the Emory Road is fairly close to where the park starts. It runs right in front of the park, and they actually did a water conservation project. It's beautiful. And to try to slow the water down running across the park into the creek. And it is gorgeous. So it's just really developing into a really nice little park.
Okay. Well, in the past, we have answered other groups' requests for some funding, grant funding. We've given $500 a year to Owl's Hill Nature Sanctuary up in Brentwood for several years. We haven't done it lately, but they are a teaching facility as well as a nature facility. It sounds like you've got a certain amount of teaching going on here too.
Oh, absolutely. We'll come through there a lot. And some of the classes, like they're getting ready to have a class on native plants that's going to take the class through the park, so.
Wonderful.
And we're actually trying to organize master gardeners to lead some little short hikes. The trail itself is maybe half a mile. It's a loop. So it's real, but it's a real nice little place.
This is also, I believe, very close to the Sweetsers.
Yes, Susan lived in Powell. And when I originally approached you about doing something like this, I thought, well, it'd be nice to have some kind of maybe signage or something in her memory since she was from that area. But, I defer to the group.
We could work with Alan on that.
Yeah,
maybe we could come up with something.
yeah.
I'm willing to entertain a motion to supply a $500 grant for this little park, or $630 grant if that would cover the plants, as y'all have estimated. Do I have a motion?
I second it.
I need a first.
Oh, sorry. I first it.
First,
I have a quick question though.
sure.
Is this up in the area where back in the 90s they relocated a wetland area? Do you happen to know?
I don't know of a wetland area that was relocated in that area. Now,
Probably wouldn't have been very
There-
well publicized.
there used to be a little airport real close by, and it used to flood all the time.
I think I did some land survey in the exact area that you're talking about shortly after I was out of college. And yeah, at the time I was, it was a job, but I knew what the ultimate result of what we were going to be doing was, which was developing a wetland area. So I think this is in that area.
Yeah, this probably at that time, Bob Collier probably still owned it. It was a family farm for like 500 years or something. I don't know how long they had it, but
I don't know if this is exactly where you're talking about. I think maybe it was adjacent to it because this wasn't a farmed area.
there's some low area, and Beaver Creek is known to have flooded in a lot of areas.
Yeah, it was definitely a very low area. I guess maybe down the road from what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
Anyway,
probably.
it was a beautiful area, and I just thought it was a real shame that it got developed. So anything happening there, I'm
Yeah.
all for.
Yeah, there's a big apartment complex right next to it, and that's when he just died a few years ago, or maybe 2 years ago, and he was really concerned about what was going to happen to that land. So it's in a conservancy, and Legacy Parks oversees all of that.
Well, that's great to know.
Yeah.
Okay, Anne, if you'll make the motion,
Oh, yes, I make the motion. Thank you.
is the motion for $500 or 630?
I think 630. I think it's worth $134.
Yep,
Sue, will you second it?
I second.
All right, all in favor of creating this grant? Raise your hand. I'd say that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 or 10 of us, a lot of us anyway. It's definitely a majority, and I'd say the motion passes. So if you'll
See it.
email the address to Kim that things need to be sent to and how a check should need to be made out. Okay?
I sure will. Thank you.
All right. We have a second request for a grant also. From April Griffin. She's interested in developing an area in Hendersonville. And I'm not sure how large it is now. She has a picture of it. It's an area near a walking path. She wants to create a native pollinator meadow in a greenway. She knows how to get equipment and seeds and such. And she has an estimate for the cost. Herbicide treatment will be needed first, $1,250. Seeds and equipment from Roundstone, $1,250. Signage, $1,000. Gravel, $1,000 for a path that wraps around it, for a total of $4,500. To me, that's an extremely expensive proposition, and we've never funded anything like this in the past. If there's any motions to go ahead with offering a $500 grant, I would entertain that. And I would also entertain tabling of this for the time being. Do I have any feedback here?
Well, if I could just say one thing relative to, so Shelley, I'm assuming we'll be able to open the PDF and look at all the data of the plants and the plan. And I think that that would be something really great. We'll keep in the Dropbox, and then also I'll keep it with the Treasury information. This sounds, Karen, like a fairly large ask, and I think that we should just table it.
Okay.
It
Is there, go
one
ahead, Bettina.
change my mind a little bit is if she documented any attempts at fundraising. You know, if she had asked anybody else or tried to figure out how to raise money for this versus just coming to us and say, can we have $5,000?
Yeah, I was gonna say, did she consider asking any local businesses, corporation, bank, anything like that for a donation? Sort of fundraising as opposed to, as you said, a big ask.
My concern is that it's not said, but it's implied that it's in a community. It seems like it's in an HOA, which really kind of what?
No, it's not in an HOA. It's close to the Hendersonville Library.
Okay.
It's sort of behind some businesses. I'm not real clear on who owns the land. I don't know if it's like Hendersonville Parks or if it's privately owned or just exactly who owns this land right now. Where she said it was located, I think that's privately owned. I mean, that's something I could look up on the Sumner County Register of Deeds online pretty quickly, but I was hoping to get some information from her.
I can forward to you what she sent me if you'd
I
like.
think that I am on what she sent to you
Okay, great.
about the
Yes, okay, I see
herbicide.
it here.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I mean, she's consulted with people and she's gotten information about what to do and how to do it. But I agree, there's no suggestion for fundraising, and I don't think it's public property.
I mean, first of all, not knowing whose property it is, that's a big red flag because that opens us up to people. Unless we have explicit permission, or this organization does with the land ownership,
Or we're planning somebody we're paying to make them.
Yeah, planting a home garden.
Yeah, that just
landscape job.
I'm not ready yet. I agree with the comments, and I think personally, I'm not ready yet to fund something like this, even partially, until a lot of questions are answered.
I move to table this this request. but invite resubmission when we have more information, if they'll provide us more information.
Thank you. I think that's a good way to do it.
I second.
Okay. And anybody opposed? No. Okay, I'm going to say that passes as a tabling of that. I'm always getting emails from different people for a whole variety of things, so I'm kind of running through them here. The requests that I think the board could easily say yay or nay to. Some of them are just FYI. There's a potential prairie restoration project, and they asked for a letter of support, if we would sign the letter of support. James Moore sent it, and I think you received a copy, Kim. He says, "My name is Chip Moore. I have a degree in civil and environmental engineering from Tennessee Tech. I have been working with land development for over 20 years in Middle Tennessee, and I'm currently contracting with the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation Real Estate Division on a programming request at the Tennessee Fire Service and Codes Enforcement Academy, just southwest of Murfreesboro. It's kind of between Shelbyville, Murfreesboro, and Columbia. It's kind of in between. It's not far from Henry Horton, quite frankly. And while working on this project, I noticed an opportunity to restore some habitat on the property, and they asked me to put it in their programming document for consideration. The campus has several acre areas that are natural cedar glade habitat. Currently, several acres of the facility are mowed. Wildflowers were observed trying to establish in the new conference room classroom field. An opportunity exists to review the site to establish additional native plants, which would help reestablish habitat that is being lost to subdivision construction and reduce maintenance costs from mowing several acres. The administration building has approximately 20 acres that could be utilized to reestablish native prairies and provide educational opportunities for these areas. I was hoping to put together a letter for different groups to sign to be in support of this item. I would hope to get several different groups involved to show that it is something that would be utilized and have an impact as a destination of what prairies can look like. So he's done a lot of legwork, and he's not asking for money. He's just asking us to sign on as supportive of it. And if we should have a Henry Horton conference, this would be, if anything's been accomplished at that point, this would be a place that we could do on a field trip, quite frankly, restoration of a prairie. So we'll see how it progresses, but I agreed that we would be supportive of a letter in support of this action. I think it offers lots of opportunities down the road for a place to go to see a native prairie for this part of the state. I know we have May Prairie down in Manchester, Tullahoma area, but this is a little bit closer to Nashville and a higher population. It is an active fire academy being used by a lot of firefighters in the region. So it's a relatively new facility. It's the academy is less than 10 years old.
In Unionville, which is I guess just north of Shelbyville.
Yep, that's it.
Is this what it is?
That's it.
Okay. All right.
That's it. Yeah. I go by it when I go visit the kids. So yeah, it's a very active place. But just an FYI to folks that I did say we would sign a letter of support. Another is Joanna Bruschetto. She does our Facebook and a lot of our social, I think all of our social media now. She has been doing it for a while. She had help for a while. She does not have any help at the moment. And I have been having trouble trying to solicit some help for her. So she's asking, because she's getting desperate. She can't keep doing this. Would we be willing to hire a social media coordinator? She's guessing an hour per day would probably work fine. Instagram and Facebook are powerful tools in the right hands. Reach can be huge, and I agree. So my past experience with the Tennessee Naturalist program has been that we don't want to get into a hiring position,
Right.
but we could do contracting.
Right.
If we do hiring, then we become an employer. And there are a lot of forms and a lot of hoops that we have to jump through on a regular basis. It puts us in a different tax category, I'm sure. It just opens up a can of worms.
And
However,
let me just say this, the treasurer would resign. Volunteer treasurer will resign.
we won't do it.
I'm not doing that. I just found out that I have to send out W-9s to all the vendors that we have paid more than $600 to. And that's fine. I'm learning a lot, but I'm not gonna be treasurer and do that.
I agree. It's an onerous task for a set of volunteers who are not being paid to pay someone. If we decided to go this direction, I would highly recommend that we contract. If we can't find someone to do it, then we could contract someone to do it and pay them a contract fee.
And what would that contract fee, what ballpark figure be?
I don't know.
Did Joe say anything about?
No, she didn't. She didn't. I'm not sure she knows. But I don't want to lose her. She's quite an asset.
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know offhand what the general rate is for that sort of thing, but I know Memphis Horticulture looked into a similar option, and it's not very expensive, really. We thought it was sort of relatively reasonable, but since our person is not dying to get out, we decided it wasn't something we had to spend money on right now.
Okay.
Something around $100 a month, I think, or maybe now it's $200 a month, which does add up. But it also, you know, if we get 10 more memberships a quarter, then we kind of make up for it and the exposure. But yeah, it's all just
it gives us exposure.
Yeah.
Especially with younger crowds.
And it does take time to actually, you have to really kind of be on top of it to get your organization noticed out there in that big, wide world. And sometimes expertise does pay off, which I don't have. I'm trying to boost the Wild Ones page, and it's really, really difficult.
Yeah. Any suggestions on what we can do?
Have we made an appeal to the membership at large to try to get some support? Because I think this is something where people can help from anywhere.
They can.
Have to be in the same location as she is.
No, they can be anywhere.
And the one thing about, having a contract with somebody to do this would they know about native plants? If we
We would
had,
have to be careful in who we selected.
right,
Well, another aspect of contracting is we as an organization will assume some responsibilities for managing those contractors, and those sometimes can get onerous.
Yeah. So how do we recruit someone? I've pleaded in our newsletter. I've pleaded at our conferences.
I know the Georgia Native Plant Society and the Virginia Native Plant Society both have really good Facebook pages. And I'm wondering if maybe I can get in touch with the administrators and find out what they do.
That could be helpful.
I actually have a relationship with Georgia Native Plant Society, and I would be happy to reach out to them and get some information on how they handle this and get that back to the group.
Okay. We don't meet again until January, so I don't think Joe's going to last until January. We need to do something yesterday. Quite frankly, she just doesn't have the time. So this is something that we'll be working through emails to get this accomplished. She had actually a second thing that she wanted to comment on. She has a book coming out. Some of you know Joanna Bruschetta, some of you don't. She's a very smart, a very interesting person. She's very knowledgeable. She has a blog that I'm following now because it's just it's fun. It's fun. It comes out sporadically, but it's good. It's always good. She has a book now that comes out September 24th. It's an urban almanac of nearby nature called This is How a Robin Drinks. Essays on Urban Nature. 52 short, true stories of plant and animal neighbors. She's having a book signing at Parnassus Books in Nashville for those in the general area that might wish to go. I think that it's by invitation and they're full up. So if you wanted to go to our first book signing, we're all too late. I couldn't get in either. But she's a delightful person. And I think she has some connection with Margaret Wrinkle.
Oh.
And she'll have an author talk at Warner Park Nature Center, September 28th at 10:30 a.m. I think that's up near you, Tim.
Yes, it's down the street. Yeah.
Anyway, so she's been busy with her book. I do know that.
I always thought we should somehow try to link up with Margaret Rankle, although she may be too big for us. She writes every Monday morning in the New York Times, and I printed out last Monday's article because it just hit home so much about what we do and our mission with the kinds of things she talks about.
She might be a really fabulous speaker because she can do it by Zoom if she wants from home. But if she's local here in Tennessee, that makes it even more.
She lives somewhere in Nashville, and whenever she describes the nature in her yard, it's as though she's talking about my property as well. So I've heard she lives over near Radnor Lake, but that's just a rumor.
Okay. I believe Joanna Bruschetta lives over near Margie Hunter. She's somewhere in the vicinity of Margie,
Oh,
for
yeah.
those that know Margie.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm reading Margaret's book right now, and I'm hoping to meet her. I got the invitation. I'm in the queue for the book signing. It would be super great, Karen. That's a great suggestion. She probably has speaker fees or something like that, though. So,
Mhm.
Tim, I agree
Oh.
with you. I love everything she writes.
Mhm.
I know we're running out of time here, though, Karen. So we can conversate about this later.
Yes. We had very little left to go. If we receive that check for $10,000, does anybody have a particular project that TNPS has been approached on, passed it over years ago because we didn't want to put out the money? Is there something we would want to put that $10,000 towards? Is there a book project, an educational project, some kind of project that would educate the public and their members about native plants that we haven't done, that we could do with this windfall of $10,000 if and when it comes? Has anybody thought of something or remembered something from the past? Well, here's one thought. We're approaching our 50th anniversary. As of January 1, it'll only be 3 years away. So maybe we just want to hold on to that money and think about something we would want to do at that point.
Sounds good.
One thing I'll comment on is most of you know that I went on a rampage when I first became treasurer because there were no records. That I had trouble finding records. I had trouble finding reports and any background information about anything that was going on. It was horrific. And I've gradually accumulated some papers, and now the word has gotten around and people are starting to send me, oh, I found these papers after my husband died. Oh, I found these papers. Would you like to have them? Yes. So right now I'm actively being sent materials from Mac Pritchard's warehouse of paperwork as they encounter them. So I think we'll probably be able to fill in eventually the missing newsletters that are in our archive, and maybe some of the minutes from way back, and maybe some contracts too. And Alan Sweetser has found some papers, and he is sending them to me. So I'm gradually finding some of the documents, and I'm finding a lot of information. As I retire from the presidency, I was thinking I'm in a pretty good position to take my time and do the history of TNPS. And I think I can put it together in a little booklet. Actually, my husband and I did do a booklet for Alice Jensen's memorial. So, and we have a good printer now that I can go to for things. So it's a possibility for down the road that maybe we would want to print up a history of TNPS. If not for everybody in the group, then maybe at least for the life members.
Yeah,
So,
Karen, at one
just something.
time, Nita Heilman had a lot of this information.
Ooh.
She was at one point it wasn't really a position, but she was basically the historian. So she should have a lot of the early stuff. I would imagine. I don't think she's one of these people that throws away a lot of stuff. So I bet she still has a box.
Thank you. I know I've approached a lot of people under suggestions like this, and yeah,
And-
things will pay off eventually.
Yeah, I think Nita would be very willing to let you have anything that she has, probably.
Maybe we can get together.
Yeah, she's in Clarksville. Not that
Okay.
far.
All right. And one last thing. Oh, we need to decide when we're going to meet again. January 7th or 14th. What works best for everyone?
7th.
I'm good with the majority, honestly. Either date is good.
Either.
Anybody else have a preference? Well, let's go for the 7th then.
We have the next
Everybody
meeting on the 7th.
January 7th. That's easy. Okay.
It'll be 2025.
And now we're right on time. Okay. Go enjoy the debate. Those who are so inclined. And the next
Enjoy
time we
is
get
a question. As to whether one can enjoy something like that, but I'm going to watch it
I can be
nonetheless.
a little
Depends on how your
facetious.
day was, maybe. I don't know.
It's look at it this way, it's going to be interesting.
It-
It will be entertaining, probably. So,
Good night.
good night, everyone. And
Good night,
next time
everyone.
we meet,
Karen, thank you so much. You do
Yes.
so much, and thank you.
Yes.
You're really, really appreciated.
welcome.
Absolutely.
you
My
are.
heart is with TNPS, so
Thank you,
in case you
Karen.
hadn't noticed.
Yeah.
Thank you to all of you.
All right,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
All right.
All right.
Good night.
And Mitchell, you'll take over the next meeting.
I'll be there.
I hope so.
Okay.
If not, Tim better hang on.
Uh-oh.
Good night.
I'll see
Okay,
you
good night,
guys soon.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.